Welcome back to RetroB8 everyone, and welcome back to the Commodore 64 Wonder years, where this year we'll be looking at 1985. Kicking us off in 10th place, we've got Kane. Kane was published by Mastertronic. When Kane was originally released, it was a budget game costing only $1.99, well within my range of pocket money. Obviously for that price, a game of $1.99, we're not going to have the most advanced Commodore 64 game here. But this top 10 isn't about the best games in 1985, it's about the games that I used to play that are from 1985. In 9th, we've got Summer Games 2, which was published by Epix. Of course, like many of Epic's releases, this game was an absolute joystick destroyer. For me personally, the Javelin was always my favourite, and I used to get about 100 metres, which made me the best in the class. With up to 8 events and 8 players, this is a great game for playing with your mates. The graphics are excellent, the sound's good, and there's a wealth of options as well to keep you going. In 8th, we've got Hardball. Now, Hardball might surprise quite a few people because it's not a game that typically we would play in the United Kingdom. However, I got this with my Commodore 64 and yeah, I really did enjoy it. The presentation is excellent and the joystick controls are really good too. However, the sound isn't too great. You get the odd roar from the crowd every now and again, but as you can hear, it's not that great. The graphics, however, are stunning, and I love the animation on the giant-sized players. Now in 7th, we've got Wave the Exploding Fist, which was published by Melbourne House. As you can see, graphically, it definitely set the tone for IK Plus and even Fist 2. This was sort of like a bit of a simpler game than both of those, but boy, this was great fun. Of course, like any game from this, it's the 2-player option where Fist excels. Smashing the living daylights out of a computer opponent is fun, but the thrill of ruining a lifelong friendship on the strength of one-on-one roundhouse kicks has to be experienced by everyone. Air Combat Emulator, or ACE for short, was published by Cascade Games. ACE is one of the few special games that I played on the Commodore 64 the first time I ever seen a Commodore 64. So this has always got a special place in my heart, and it was always going to make this top 10. I was always into aircraft when I was a kid. I probably wanted to be an aircraft pilot. Yeah, that was never going to happen. But the closest I could get to it was the Air Combat Emulator. Back then, these graphics and the 3D absolutely blew my mind. And then you've got the sound, which of course had digitised speech. Finally, we enter the top 5 with Data East's Kung Fu Master. I used to love playing this one back in the day in the arcades. I'm pretty sure it was only 5p a pop. Kung Fu Master on the Commodore 64 is a faithful conversion of its coin-up daddy. It pretty much contains every aspect of the original, even down to the background music. The smack of flesh against flesh is still most convincing, and it is very satisfying. Graphically, yes, it is a little bit splodgy, however, I can get past that because the gameplay was so good. In 4th, we have Elite. Elite was published by Firebird, and still to this day on the Commodore 64 has to be one of the greatest space simulation games ever made. And as much as I do have fantastic memories of playing this game, one of the most frustrating aspects for me, personally, was the docking. I could not dock at all, but eventually, after time, I got there. Just. The presentation is absolutely superb. If you're lucky enough to own a copy of this, you'll know exactly what I mean with what comes in the box. There's even a book in there, a story. It really was next level. Now we move in to the top 3. And in 3rd, we have Silent Service, which is also known as Das U-Boot in Germany. It was published by Microprose Software. Being a Microprose game, this of course was programmed by Sid Meier, and he could do no wrong. If you saw his name on a game, you knew it was a seal of quality. For me, this game was all about the hunt, and of course the suspense that went with it, and Silent Service, it had droves of it. In 2nd, and just missing out on top spot, we've got Barry McGuigans World Championship Boxing, which was also known as Star Rank Boxing in the US. It was published by Activision. The game itself is straightforward. You start from the bottom and you've got to fight your way to the top, and then eventually you get a title shot. You then had to choose what your boxer's training regime would be in the build up to the fight. Yeah, this was a little confusing back in the day, but I was happy just smashing someone up in the ring. And here we have it, number 1. It is Commando, published by Elite. Again, Commando was one of those games that I played the first time I ever played my Commodore 64 on that wet Saturday afternoon at my best friend Terry McNally's house. It'll always have a special part in my heart, but the music is really where my love came for this game. The game itself I found incredibly fun, and I used to always want just one more go. I really hope you guys have enjoyed looking at my favourite games that I play that come from 1985. Of course, if you're into 8-bit micros, 16-bit, your Commodore Amiga, then please consider subscribing to my channel for future content like this.